Hey there, good afternoon. This is Liz from Augusta. I'm the operations manager and the facilitator of communications at our brick and mortar location in Bellingham, Washington. I wanted to share a little bit today about team culture. Some of you wonder whether a franchise would be right for you. A good way to find out is to really research the company that you're wanting to be a franchise with. If you read studies and research, the best franchisees and the ones who have succeeded the most are the ones who went exactly by the book and the systems that the company had set out to follow. Those people make exponential amount of money more than others because they weren't trying to buck the system. Their whole purpose of being in a franchise was to have somebody lay everything out for them, to follow it by the book, by those steps, because they were proven ways of success to build a business and make money. So team culture is a huge part of what it takes to build a business. You need people that are committed, that don't bring their ego to work, and that are able to do the personal deep work and changes to be able to set aside their personal problems when they come to work. To understand clearly, sometimes if you think of maybe Navy SEALs or those in the military, when they work as one and consider themselves as one unit, better together, better working as one clear thinking unit, they perform at high levels that could never be done by someone's self with everyone pulling in different directions. So at Augusta, a huge source of our success is that really when we interview people, really we would say that the number one way to get fired is to throw someone else under the bus. I've never called in sick once in the many years I've been there, and I've been sick. But what gets me out of bed is knowing that one of the crew is going to need my assistance during the day. I'm going to have 7 routes running. I'm going to have 2 or 3 projects besides the mowing routes running. There's going to be issues on the jobs. There's going to be questions about the homes they're at and the issues. And they know I've got their back. So I couldn't just leave them in the lurch. The same with them calling in sick in the morning. I have had guys that told me on Fridays that they had been sick the whole week, but they knew the team needed them. When you build a team culture where everyone is coming for everyone else, it changes the whole dynamic. So we have one young man that had some issues before he was hired, and when we called his references, they told us some things about him which we would never have hired him. And so when I gave him a call to tell him we wouldn't be going forward in the interview process, I let him know that, hey, in the future, if someone asks if there's anything at your previous job that we should be aware of, take note that they are going to find out. And I told him what I had been told, and he said that that was true. But he was so respectful, and he was thanking me for telling him that, and yes, ma'am, and the way he responded was really incredible. So I asked Mike if we could just give him a chance, and that would be with no second chances. And so actually over the years, he has been given a last chance, and at one time we gave him 2 weeks to change. And he had come to me and he said, I don't know how to change. I don't know how to be different. And he was a young man who had been raised by a single mom, and he hadn't had a good, strong male influence in his life to be an example to him. And so I told him, you know what I would do? I would find some good men, even guys here at Augusta that you admire, and I would see what they do and how they conduct themselves, and I would emulate that. And then I would get on some good podcasts and to hear some good men talk about discipline and life and business and just becoming a quality individual in your community and in the world and in general for yourself. And so he started doing that. And the first book I recommended was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And I have seen this young man completely change. He is the giver on the team. He is the one that, for instance, this past week we had a situation. We have yellow slips, which all of you that have watched our content will know. And one customer had bought a service for their neighbor. It was moss removal on the roof. And we had a newer employee. And so the newer employee did the neighbor's house, and this young man did the main customer's house. And I got a call back, a frantic message on Google that night, and I said, Austin and I will take care of it in the morning, because Austin had gotten this customer off of another job we had done. So I said, we will take care of it. So this was late at night, and so I didn't have my computer to be able to see who had been at that job or any of that stuff. So I just text Austin, hey, I need to talk to you in the morning. We need to resolve something. So he went back and completely scraped that roof, blew off the moss, cleaned up all the debris. And at the end of the day, he came back and I said, hey, does that need to be a yellow slip, or was that just the wind, or what happened? And he goes, oh no, it deserves a yellow slip. And we had the newer employee, And I said, was it you that did that? And he's like, oh no, I wasn't on that roof at all. It was this other young man. And I realized that he had come so far. He had totally taken responsibility for the other employee's issue. And I had to get it resolved that day for the customer. And he just worked with me and we resolved it. And then it was after the fact that he and I addressed it, and I just acknowledged to the team that it was pretty incredible that he had owned that for someone else. And that's not the first time he's done that. So that's the kind of quality of people we have at Augusta. People that individually try to make themselves better so that when they come to work, they know when I come to work, I'm all about them. They know that I've put everything into the job to set them up for success for the day. And so they reciprocate that. What else would I want to share with you about team culture? We can't have really experienced people saying, I know more than you, I have more experience, I've done this longer than you. Any kind of stuff like that comes out of anybody's mouth, they're not going to be with us long. If someone joined the franchise, that would be the kind of culture they'd be coming into. People who really care about them. The whole reason we started doing franchises is for the businessman that's been a solopreneur their whole lives, and they have worked their butts off for their family, and they're exhausted, and maybe they're sick, and their body is broken and tired, and they don't have any help. They don't know how to run the business portion. They've just kind of flown by the seat of their pants all these years. They have no money to show for it. They don't even know how to bid their jobs after all this time. They've just taken wild guesses. And if you actually went through their numbers and their mowing times and all of that, you would see that they actually were giving the customer money to be at their property and work, like making nothing, losing money on all those. So Augusta teaches you how to price those mows correctly so that you make money. And at the end of each season to reevaluate, to take the ones away or raise the price and explain why to your customer, that you're giving a livable wage to your team. If I get calls and complaints from the crew, if we have damages, the crew always lets me know right away. If they break a window or a sprinkler head or something, they take a picture for me right away, and I like to be proactive and let the customer know that that's happened before the customer ever knows. So for instance, we've broken windows before, and I'll call and have the window company coming to get a bid before I let the customer know. I schedule it, I get it repaired, I pay for it, and the customer never has to deal with that at all. So what else about our team culture? We care a lot about one another on every level in each other's lives. We are sensitive to the fact that people do have personal issues in their lives, and we don't tolerate any lateness at all. We find that very disrespectful to your team, especially on paid for performance, because your other crew member is waiting in the truck for you. And so that is something that would never happen at Augusta more than 2 times. And paid for performance we thought in the beginning would be something that would be detrimental to team culture, and we have found that it's only strengthened it. It causes crew members to not put up with stuff that they would normally just let fester and fester and get more and more mad. But now they'll just say, hey, I'm not making any money if you're just sitting in your car. You need to get out and get loaded up and ready to roll out. So the paid for performance model really weeds out the low performers. They get fired pretty quick, or they don't make any money because they're not performing. But it's the perfect thing for high performers for sure, because they actually get paid for what they're doing. I remember at the hospital when I worked, there were CNAs and RNs, and there were CNAs that just sat on their butts and did hardly anything, and then there were CNAs that worked their butts off. And it was very difficult for the RNs to look at that and see, wow, they're being paid a straight across wage, and this person does nothing, and this person does so much. And we had talked about that when I was working there. It would be fantastic to pay on performance in a hospital setting. Made me just want to go to a hospital and set up some great systems to help their employees out. So there are many benefits to being a part of the Augusta team. We use Service Autopilot, and I have made all the mistakes and struggled through and cried and screamed, so you don't have to. And we've tried all the systems and the automations and put some simple things in place to run everything so that we can help our franchisees and that it's not so stressful for them, so that we're available for them 24/7 when they get stuck with invoicing, routing, scheduling, all that good stuff. And so we would love to have you check us out. If you check out the links below, you can read all about us. You can see a lot of our videos. You can see on my feed here my speech from the Landscape Summit, which I talk about the relationship of the owner, which is the number one, and then the number two, which is the operator that comes into the business. So the first time you hire somebody, what that looks like to, you've been a solopreneur your whole life, and the transition into the second person, it's extremely difficult, as you know, to delegate and trust somebody else with your baby, because the business has been yours, your blood, sweat, and tears all these years. So I talk about that because that has been my relationship with Mike, and our goal in the last year was to transition him out of our day-to-day business so that he could sell the franchises. So we were successfully able to do that, and in there we talk about how we made a list of absolutely everything he does in the business, and then we split it up on who we would have do what, and then we set a timeline for someone to take all those positions and take the place of the owner, so that he is now completely out of the day-to-day, and he can be free to focus on you and those that are interested in franchises, and just to pour 100% into the success of others. The big motivation for wanting to do franchises is the many calls from the small business owner that is, they don't know what to do. They're broke. They have all this work to do. They have illness in the family. They didn't build systems to make their businesses successful, and they just, what are they going to do? They're at an age where they've done this their whole life. They've done lawn care, landscaping. They don't know how to keep good people, and they really can't pay the people what they're worth. And so we help you with all that. We give you the support you need. By that time, a lot of owners have a lot of anxiety, and maybe started drinking a lot and taking things to help them with their anxiety, smoking, things that are all detrimental to their health. And we sympathize with that. But if they could get systems in place and be a part of the franchise, and we could help you with the things that are most stressful for you and be your support, then you could have more confidence, and you could get well, and you could have a great team, and we would show you how, and you could come and meet ours, and we would love to give you that opportunity. So watch all the videos from Mike, and watch anything he's got online about our team. Watch the speech I did at the summit in January. You'll get a little bit of an idea of what we're like as people, Once you come to meet us, there wouldn't be anything you didn't know, because we're pretty transparent and we really, really care about the small business owner and want to see them succeed and their families. And I hope you have an amazing day. It's a beautiful day here in Washington. It's usually pouring down rain, so we're going to appreciate it while it's here. So I look forward to hearing from you. If you want to email me, I can give you a link after you've watched all Mike's content to have a phone call with him. You have a fantastic day.